Going live. Okay. Calling to order regular meeting of council for May 28th, 2024 at 7 p.m. First item is item 2, opening remarks. I actually do not have, shockingly, I know, any opening remarks tonight. Item number 3, approval of agenda. We do have a couple of amendments. So I'm going to ask that we have a motion that the agenda for the regular public council meeting dated May 28th, 2024 be approved with the following changes. Additions to add item number 8 under business arising from the minutes. Item number 8.1, amendment to approval of a liquor license from Riva Dooryard Arts Festival. So they had in their original application put from July 19th onward, and it should be the 18th, so we just have a quick amendment there. And then adding item number 10.3 under new business, approval of liquor licenses from Old Home Week. So Laura will recap those for us, and we'll have a couple of improvements there. So could anybody move that? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Bradbury. Okay, any questions on those? Yes.
How did we get to 10.3? I've only got a 10.
Sorry, so it's shuffled because we added a whole new section. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so just bump all your.
Thank you.
Okay, makes sense now?
Yes.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. We got some lawnmower races practicing on the outside here. Okay, anyone have any declarations of conflict of interest to declare? Hearing none, I will acknowledge that Councillor Brown is absent tonight for the record. And moving on to item number 5, approval of the minutes. We have a couple sets of minutes. The first set is from our regular council meeting on May 14th. Everybody had a chance to go through all of those minutes. If I could get approval of minutes of May 14th, 2024 as distributed. Moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Leach. Any questions on that set of minutes? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, the second set of minutes was from our council and committee meeting on the same night of May 14th, 2024. Could I get an approval of minutes of council and committee meeting of May 14th, 2024 as distributed? Moved by Councillor McCartney, seconded by Councillor Bradbury. Any questions on that set of minutes? There was a very nice article, I will note, in regards to Constable Sean Kimball. So we were pleased to see him be acknowledged that way from the River Valley Sun. So, and the police department was thrilled over that too. I think they celebrated with cake and ice cream or something I saw. So that's all good. They celebrated his success. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, moving on to item number 7, which is finance. We have Director of Finance, Jennifer Crabb, here with us tonight. She's going to go through, and for all of you, you have copies that were emailed to you to defer to. There'd be two, one for general, one for utility. Go ahead, Jen, when you're ready.
Good evening. I am here tonight to give the finance update for the general and utility fund for the month ended April 30th, 2024. Both the general and utility income expense statements have been prepared, so they agree to the sections on the provincial budget form. The finance committee met on May 23rd, 2024 to review the statements. I'm going to start with the general fund tonight. For the end of April, we are 33.33% or 1/3 of the way through the year. The good news is the revenue falls at about 36.22%, so slightly over the 33%. And the expenses are at 30.28%, so just under the 33%. So that's all good. I will point out in other revenue, the $1,061,000 that is in that section, the bulk of that is made up by Air Motor Center at $493,000. Fire department revenue for purchases they make is at $116,000. And the retrofit and new power grant is $144,000. Moving down to the expenses, general government. This department is responsible for the overall governance and financial administration of the town. This includes council functions, general and financial management, legal matters, and compliance with legislation, as well as civic relations. So currently, general government is sitting at 30.15% of budget. So of the $500,000 we've spent, wages are about $348,000. IT is $22,000. Dues and fees are $16,000. Legal is $23,000. Medical expense for retired staff is $7,800. Town office expenses are $43,000, and community sponsorship to date is $30,800. Protective services, this department is responsible for the provision of policing services, fire protection, emergency measures, animal control, and other protective measures. Our police to date is sitting at 35.06% to budget. There is revenue for them that's included above, so that would probably, would reduce their overall amount. So they have spent $1.3 million to date. Of that, wages is $1,062,000. Dispatch contract is $62,000. Vehicle expenses are at $44,000. Office expenses are $54,000. Equipment and operations is at $50,000, and training is at $11,000. I will note that in the vehicle expenses, the $44,000, there is a revenue amount of just over $8,000 for insurance proceeds that we received back on repairs to one of the vehicles. RCMP, we've received our first quarter billing, so we're sitting at 25%, $391,000. Fire is sitting at 44.81% to budget. The reason it's above is because of the lotto purchases. If you take the $116,000 out of your city rate of 33%. So they have spent $457,000 to date. Wages are $169,000. Water cost is $47,000. Items purchased using the lotto fund is $116,000. Dispatch fees are $32,000, and fire services to other municipalities are $36,000. Under other, this is mainly our bylaw enforcement expenses. They are sitting at 30% to date. We have spent $34,000, and bylaw enforcement expenses are $28,500. The rest of that is made up by SPCA, and there's an RSC in that as well. Transportation service. This department is responsible for common services, roads and street maintenance, street lighting, traffic services, parking, and other transportation-related functions. They are sitting at 32.94% to budget. We have spent $700,000. Of that amount, wages are $283,000. Salt and sand are $108,000. Heat and hydro would be $54,000. Vehicle and equipment repairs, maintenance, fuel are $193,000. Environmental health services, this department is responsible for waste collection and disposal, and it's sitting right at 33.32%, and that amount is all garbage collection and transport fees. Environmental development services, this department is responsible for planning and zoning, community development, tourism, and other municipal development and promotion services. That department is at 27.23% to budget. We have spent $186,000. Wages are $90,000. RSC is almost $37,000, and tourism events are $24,000, which is ridiculous. There is also revenue included
Yes.
above for that tourism to bring it down to it's under the 15,000 that was approved by the council to be spent on the event. Recreation and cultural services is sitting at 21% to budget. We have spent just over $1 million. Wages are $615,000. Hydro is $133,000. Library expenses are $27,000. Repairs, maintenance, and vehicle expenses are $56,000. And the final part is the fiscal services. This section includes long-term interest in our debt payments, bank service charges, and capital purchase. To date, we have spent 3.82%, coming in just under $39,000. And that is made up of grandstand capital expenses of $16,000, Air Motor Center purchase a piece of equipment at $5,000, and bank interest is at $14,000. So that is the general. For the utility fund has only had one billing cycle to date, and it was for metered properties. This was their first semi-annual bill. So the revenue obviously looks low compared to budget, but I'm thinking that when we discuss month end for June, it will look much better because our metered billing or our unmetered billing for residential will be going out for June 1st. So currently, the bulk of the income is falling under other revenue right now at $493,000. And the majority of that is the CCBF revenue, which is the Canada Community Building Fund, which is formerly the gas tax. And that is reimbursement for purchases that have been made below that have fallen under municipal gas tax or municipal CCBF projects. And the revenue is falling at 32.82% to date, with expenses falling at 45.37%. Water expenses are at 29.64%, coming in at $276,000. The bulk of that is wages at $90,000, repairs and maintenance are $20,000, vehicle and equipment repairs and maintenance are $46,000, hydro is $30,000, water testing and treatment is $20,000, and staff training is $6,000. Sewer is 27.5% of budget, falling at just almost $241,000. Wages is $94,000. Repairs and maintenance is $43,000. Vehicle and equipment repairs and maintenance is $35,000, and electricity is $29,000. Under fiscal services, the $419,000 is CCBF revenue or CCBF expenses that we have spent to date on projects, and the bulk of that revenue is listed above. So that is it for our month-end review.
And we can confirm, I guess, I don't know, Jennifer, if you want to give everybody under utility a quick summary of this would be our second and only time where Geraldine's handled all of the billing single-handedly. Would you like to maybe summarize the difference of what it took her for time before versus what it took her this time?
What did she say today? It's like weeks.
Went from 6 weeks to days.
Days with the way
Yeah.
that the water and sewer billing was
Yeah.
being done.
So
So huge difference. It was a huge project for her to go through, but she is an expert at it now.
So that's a huge time saver, obviously, and so those will, for the benefit of public, the bills will be going out next week. Yeah, next week. So that will be everybody's. There should be no surprises this time around. So the rates did not change this year, so shouldn't be. Everyone should get the same bill as they did the last time. And we're going to later on in the meeting really blow the potential utility budget out of the water, aren't we? Literally, no pun intended. Yeah. So we'll chat about that under item 10, which is now 10.2, well number 3 update. But we do have some comments from the Director of Finance in regards to that well number 3 purchase. Other than that, I guess I would maybe offer to comment that basically when we talked at the start of the year, we knew we'd have a lapse. So this is really the first time we're going to get rolling with regular reports. So we had a preview of this at the last meeting. So Jennifer will not be, as we've discussed from the finance committee, so that we can get complete reports. She will be providing her financial reports to us during our regular council meeting, the second meeting of the month versus at the first with CIC. She may introduce her general report with CIC, but the actual financial statements will fall to this meeting. So to that note, last time you guys were provided a draft copy so that you could comment on any questions or concerns, and really the only questions received were on details rather than format. So based on that and based on the recommendation that came out of the finance committee meeting, this is the report, the structure that we're going to proceed with for now, and we'll roll with this. And essentially we can expect to get this every month. So we will, and even though, let's use July as an example, we have a break because we only have one meeting, Jen will still deliver the report during that month. So if there's a month where we skip CIC, it won't impact the delivery of the finance. So but just in case anybody has any thoughts or questions on that, you can certainly ask. Does anybody have any questions for Jen? In general, we've seen this now the second time, so most questions were answered. Any questions from the group?
I've got a quick one just
Yeah.
on expenses for the water and sewer, where it says under the vehicle and equipment repairs for maintenance, 46,000 and then 35, I think. Is that for like our equipment, trucks?
That are designated to the water, to the utility side, yes.
Any of the transportation?
Yes, well, different than transportation, different than public works,
Right.
because the salt, sander trucks and all that would fall under the general fund, so these are just the utility fund.
It's utility truck vehicles.
Yeah, so we had moved a couple of utility vehicles and made a new purchase last year. So there are some vehicles that are totally under the utility finance.
And we equip them with the service
And-
trailer as well.
Yes, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, no, that's, I just wanted to clarify that that's what.
Perfect. Anyone else?
I have a question. Just out of curiosity, I feel like you did it at the year end when we were talking about fire, but out of curiosity, and maybe Jeff even knows part of this, I see that we've got the expense of us paying other fire departments.
Yes.
What do we get back for helping other municipalities? Do we ever get money? Do we ever have that as a revenue stream?
There isn't. For us, for this year, it's Heartland, District of Carleton North, and Lakeland Ridges, the Quebec Fire Department, the Heartland Fire Department, and the Lakeville Fire Department provide fire services to a small portion of our municipality.
Okay.
So that's what we're being billed for.
Because I remember Harold talking about that sometimes you get called to other fires. And there was a point, I think, when we first
That's
started, that they
mutual
were,
aid.
But yeah, that's mutual aid.
That's
Okay.
different than this.
okay, that's it,
This,
okay.
this is.
This is because of the amalgamation.
No, well, this is a
Well, yes.
carryover.
But-
So
But it's because, like, Quebec provides fire services to a portion of Richmond for us,
Mhm,
so
mhm.
they bill us.
mhm.
Yeah, I think we have not yet had a chance, because this is the first time this year, would have been February, where we actually obtained control over this.
Mhm.
So there will be future conversations with all the fire departments and all the communities to say, okay, well, can we revisit? Is it appropriate for us to take that on and evaluate? Because again, those were decisions that were not made here.
Mhm.
They would have been made from the LSDs at the provincial level. So we have not yet had a chance to have communications, and the province has kind of washed their hands of what this is, and we don't really necessarily know the formula that they were using to kind of create these numbers. So I think we've all got to, as municipalities, get together at some point, which we're mostly all aware. So we will be doing that at some point in the near future, start to have those conversations.
Are we billed as like a static bill, we bill the same amount every year, or is it on a call basis?
It's
Static amount.
So it's calculated for the year and then it's invoiced quarterly to us. And there is a formula, the province did share their spreadsheets that they would have used in the past to do the calculations. So that's what the municipalities and the treasurers in the other areas have used to calculate the amounts.
So we will see what we decide for, because it is a fair chunk and they're really small areas, and who come up with the calculation to determine it, I don't know.
And like Deputy Mayor saying, how many calls do we get in those areas? Like how many times do they actually have to go to a house?
Yeah. And I
Not that
think-
you don't want protection, obviously, but.
Yeah, and I think we can probably look at FERS, the history of that, of the reporting structure that's there for all of the required, any call will get logged. So I think there's probably some historical data we could look at, and also what might have been last year and then what this year looks like, and see if there can be some changes made to that. To be determined. Okay, any other questions? Good question though. Okay, if not, we will move from the 7.1 finance update to 7. Yes, we have a motion. Sorry, getting ahead. We'll do one at a time instead of both together. So we got two motions under finance. The first one to accept the update to the report. So if I could get a motion to accept the financial report submitted by the Director of Finance Services Treasurer, Jennifer Crabb, as presented. Oh, shoot, Mike, we were gonna get you to read that.
That's right.
I knew I had a strategy.
You knew that's why it wasn't on your
Right,
brain,
well,
because
why
someone
I
else
was
gonna do it.
waiting. Stole your thunder. Do you want to at least move it?
I will move that.
I was like,
Okay, moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Williams. Let you do the second one. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried.
Thank you, Jen, I think it's very clear. It's very appreciated.
Yes, so Jen, moving on, we've got, would you like to give them a summary? I think we've all received, everybody reviewed, had a chance to review the employee travel expense policy that was sent as a separate document to the package.
Okay.
I believe it was in a separate, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So this, I'm looking to get a policy in place for travel reimbursement. To update the current kilometerage reimbursement rate from 42 cents a kilometer to 58 cents a kilometer and create reimbursement rates for meals. The town of Woodstock does not have a policy for reimbursement of meals. It has been whatever is reasonable. And the kilometerage rate of 42 cents has been in place since at least 2013. It is important to have meal amounts in place as it allows town officials and staff to plan their meal spending more effectively when traveling for town business. It also allows for more accurate budgeting, knowing the exact amounts meals are being reimbursed at. All town of Woodstock officials and employees shall be reimbursed for travel expenses outside the town of Woodstock while attending town of Woodstock business. The kilometerage rate of reimbursement will reflect the rate paid by the government of New Brunswick. The rate will be updated annually when GMB updates their rate. A travel expense claim form per kilometerage will need to be submitted following their work travel. The meal rates will be reimbursed as a per diem, no receipts required. Based on the applicable meal allowance for breakfast, lunch, and supper, meals will only be paid for when they are not provided as part of the accommodations, meetings, conference, training, etc. When travel is for a partial day, only meals that are applicable to that portion of the day will be paid. The manager, director, CAO will determine what meals are required for reimbursement. A travel expense claim form will need to be filled out, listing the meals that require reimbursement, signed by the employee, as well as the manager, director, CAO. Incidentals, small minor costs such as parking tolls that are incurred due to town of Woodstock travel will be reimbursed with receipts and approval from your manager, director, and CAO. So I would like to see an increase in the kilometerage rate to 58 cents a kilometer, which is the current Canadian amount. And meals would be reimbursed at breakfast $15, lunch $22.50, and supper $30, or at the rates in the budget amendment as applicable. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
I will say we reviewed this in the finance committee as well and agreed on these amounts and premise ahead. So again, everybody knows I'm pro policy. So we like to have things in writing so that it's clear for all staff what they can expect, and that, collecting receipts and doing all that is a lot of work. So per diems tends to make things a lot simpler for both administering the program and also for those that are using it. Then they get to pick and choose. And if they choose to eat a meal that's at a fancy restaurant, it costs more, that's fine. It's fine to do that, but they know what they're going to get for their set rate per diem. So we did do lots of kind of homework to look at what other areas and what other, both on the provincial side, municipal side, business sector, what was kind of fair per diem rates. And these are certainly in line with the norm. So again, the finance committee accepted what the rates were as presented by the director of finance. So as a background, that's kind of from that perspective. Does anyone have any questions or concerns on it?
So that's the allowance, right? If it's
Correct.
up to that amount, like if it's under that, they still get that amount, right?
They get that amount no
Yeah,
matter
exactly.
what. So if you choose to skip breakfast, lunch, and dinner, well,
But
that's all
yes.
good.
Okay, just clarifying.
But you also don't get reimbursed for it if it's provided as part of travel
Like a free breakfast.
at your hotel or at your conference. They have
Yeah.
lunch and supper.
So part of, like, if we go to a conference, and I will say, overall, this is there's not a lot of this, and
Exactly.
there's a limited amount that this happens anyway. But if we were to register for a conference and the conference includes meals as part of the fee that you pay, then there's no allowance for per diems on top of that.
Just eliminates people having to keep receipts.
And then when we get a
It's all the
receipt,
process.
that isn't the line descriptive receipt, the detailed receipt, we don't have to worry about it anymore, because again, those things are extraordinarily important. And I would say from an auditor's perspective, this is much easier, cleaner. There was a lot of extra work in past in trying to just manage all of this without a clear policy as to what's accepted. And if there isn't a receipt that's detailed, then it can be problematic in an audit. So yeah, good questions there. Any other thoughts, questions? Okay, hearing no more, I would ask for a motion for council to approve the new travel reimbursement policy for employees.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Councillor Bellier, seconded by Councillor Bradbury. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay. Jen, we will not be offended if you leave. And thank you, though. Okay, so we are moving on, remembering that we've added an item, so we are moving on to item number 8, business arriving from the minutes, and we have one item under here, which is amendment to approval of the liquor license from Riva for Dooryard Arts Festival. So as I briefed earlier, Laura, do you want to, sure. Yeah. Do you want me to give a quick just as a reminder? This is just a simple amendment because they made a mistake in the dates that they provided. The original motion was for July 19th to 20th, and their application actually says 18th to 20th, so we need to do it in that.
Yes, they need the
Yeah, so would you like to read the,
amendment.
yes,
Sure.
please.
So the motion would be to amend motion number 2024-053, previously made by council, to include the date of July the 18th for liquor approval for the Dooryards Arts Festival.
Okay, anybody like to move that? Move by Councillor Williams, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any questions on that? Pretty simple. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, item number 9, now CAO update. Nope, that's gonna be under 10.
So I will start with the top 10 priority items and then go down to some of the other items. Starting with legal bylaw animal control, that is updating our bylaw for animal control. That we've gone through that. It's legal for review right now. We expect to have it back by the end of the month. And then when it's done and we're satisfied, we'll bring it here for approval. The main well number 3, I will have an update on that just a little bit later. So I'll fill you in on what's going on there. Hiring a registered planner. As you know, we're searching for a registered professional planner to replace Dylan. So there's not a huge amount of them in the province, but I've been reaching out. And there are 4 that have declined. There are 2 that are yet to get back to me, and there are 2 that are interested. So we have to go through that process. The province has been advised that we're without an RPP at this point, but we'll have one in 30 days, and they're acceptable with that. In the meantime, the Regional Service Commission is backstopping us as needed, so we're still within compliance on that. So I should have that sorted out within 30 days. Managed IT services, I have a proposal following here that I'll present to you a little later. The financial audit recommendations, we're still working on the specific action plans on how we're going to deal with that, the order in which we're going to deal with that. We'll be presenting that when it's ready. The town hall and the developer's land, the expressions of interest. So we, as you know, we went out for the expressions of interest. We had, I believe there's 5 back. So we're reviewing those now. We'll be issuing an RFP, a call for a much more detailed proposal from those people that from a subset of those people that have expressed interest. So we should be issuing that in the next 2 weeks. So within similar to that, the 690 Main Street, we called for an expression of interest. We had a very interesting one. We are preparing the purchase and sale agreement now, and once we are able to finalize that, then we can discuss a little bit in more detail on what's happening there. The PAC committee, we are reviewing all the processes for public submission and the notifications, and all of the information goes around there, and we'll be working on that. And it's important that I get that registered planner on to provide their expertise on that as well. So we'll keep you updated on that as we go forward. The good news on the website design relaunch, we have a date. The go live date is June 7th. So we'll be doing the training next week on how to maintain an update, and Laura will be trained as well as Toby. So we'll have several people that can do the different pieces, and we will be bringing it live June 7th, and we will be clear that there will be a subset of material there. We're going to be very, very careful on how we go through that. For instance, the bylaws, we will be very sure that each one that we put up there is duly signed and valid, and we don't have duplicates and all of that stuff. So we'll be doing some cleanup as we go live there. The exciting one is the town logo and the tagline refresh. As you recall, we went out for public input on the taglines. We had 108 submissions. So pretty impressive. So we're going through that now. We're trying to rock and stack. And out of deference to Heartland, we are taking every submission that had the word heart in it and setting it aside, just not get in their way. And then we'll go through the rest and we'll be distributing it to the subcommittee that's working on that. And then we'll have a process where we try to narrow it down and figure out where we want to go with that. And on the logo itself, we've done a second refinement and sent it out, and we'll be meeting hopefully next week with the committee to take a look at them and say, is one of these the ones we want to go, or do we need to tweak it a little bit more? So we are on the schedule still for that, and it's coming along looking good. So those are the top 10 items. Are there any questions on any of those? Okay, moving on to some of the other items. The dragon boats are in the water. And they still floated. They didn't sink. So they went in on Sunday. I went down and looked at them, and they're looking good, and they're floating. And the memorandum of understanding is in progress. So we should have that signed off shortly, so that we're clear on who's doing what to whom. The Woodstock Cycling and Repair, the MOU for the rental of the canoes and kayaks at the waterfront has been completed, and Jamie should be setting up there very shortly, and we're looking forward to having
Yeah.
both of those events down on our waterfront. It'll be good. The strategic review, we had our kickoff meeting with the consultant. We'll be doing the strategic review, and we're going to start with providing documentation to them that they're requesting, and then we'll do staff interviews over the next month or two. And then I believe the next plan is an offsite.
Yep.
Sort of get together with everybody to go into some depth on what we're looking at and what we're doing with that. So we'll keep you posted on that schedule because we'll have to be tying everybody together. And
Yeah, we'll be releasing that, I think, probably hopefully before the end of June. We need that in everyone's calendars well in advance.
so we talked about reviewing the animal control bylaw. The next one up is the dangerous derelict building bylaw. We're in the process of reviewing that internally, and once I get through that, then we'll send it out for legal review, and then we'll continue to walk through all of the bylaws. Laura's going through a project now. We're just making sure we understand what bylaws are out there, when they were last updated, are they still relevant? Do they need to be updated again? And we'll just continue working through the cycle. We can't do 17 at a time, but we'll continue working through the cycle on it. The Riptide Synchronized Swim Club. We committed out of our community donation funds, we committed $500 towards the purchase of an underwater sound system to be dispersed when their fundraising is complete and the system is ordered. So we're glad to support that project. And the library water fountain that council approved, that project is being installed this week. So that are the key items we've been working on. Is there any questions on any of those?
Okay. Hearing none, we will move on to item 10, new business. So we have three items under new business. First one being IT management services. So CAO, would you like to give a summary of that one again? We've discussed it a couple times, but we
Yeah.
might as well review that one in detail.
So we had gone out for proposals for our managed IT services. We are now ready to make a proposal to hire BrunNet as our managed IT service provider. We went out to 5 potential providers. We selected BrunNet based on the technical capability, their familiarity with the sector, the quality of the proposal, their startup costs, and ongoing costs. This proposal will provide complete managed IT services, including storage, networking, licensing, capability upgrades, as well as the cybersecurity training and incident response plan. So this is an upgrade from our current networking and security stance and will provide improved tools to staff and council. It will also provide initial and ongoing training on cybersecurity awareness for both staff and council. The implementation will begin immediately upon acceptance of the proposal and will include a strong communication and project plan for each stage as we go through. So the project will include $9,100 in capital for new equipment, mostly switches and the like there, $19,000 for setup and implementation in 2024, and then $34,000 in annual service fees, and those will be subject to periodic inflation increases and billed monthly. So we're looking at a 3-year contract with BrunNet. These items have been budgeted, and the funds remain available in the 2024 budget. So the recommendation is to proceed with BrunNet as our managed IT provider.
So I will say we really took our time with this, right? Like, did a lot of homework, had everybody that was, valid come and do site tours and be on site. And the CAO took them,
All the closets and
Yeah.
nooks and crannies
to
and
everything.
stuff.
And so we do feel like they all had a very fair shot. And I would like to take this opportunity because we did have a long-standing provider locally in Home Zone that has provided us service. And as we've grown, have managed to get us to this point, but recognizing that their strength is largely residential and what we're trying to move towards next to ensure that our network is as secure as it can be, and to also be able to implement and provide that cybersecurity training to all our staff that we've kind of surpassed their niche market and their capabilities. But they were a great service provider to us for many, many years, and it's always great to keep and have local providers. But so this is an opportunity to thank them for all their years of services, and it's nothing in that way that we weren't happy with the service so much as just needing to move to a level that just wasn't quite the fit for them. So anyone have any questions on this? We've been talking about this for a little bit, but
You said to be able to keep an eye on their files and stuff like that from hackers.
Yes.
That's the intent. There will
Yeah.
be remote management, remote monitoring, and that some of the
Mhm.
upgrades that we need to do on the switches, they will see stuff well before we see it.
Mhm.
And they will be able to intercede as appropriate and do what they need to do for them.
So if something does happen, like incident response, that's.
Yes.
That will be now what? But that will be planned out and practiced beforehand. And
Mhm.
what was interesting is they were the only ones that actually had that included in the proposal. And I've participated those in other lives that I've had, and they're extremely important
Yeah.
to practice.
Yeah,
Not just to have
it's
one
a growing concern.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do believe it was out west, I do believe it was at
Yes.
that drugstore.
lots. One.
oh, every sector has been hit
Yeah.
substantially in the last few
Because we've
years.
got like employee information, personal information.
Yep, correct.
And
Yep.
general public too.
Yeah, no, we have a duty to protect all the information that we house and hold. And at this point, I think we feel very confident in the transition that they're more than capable of doing that. Their service level, I'd say, for dealing with issues with someone might have a laptop issue or whatever, they do have a very good setup that allows, and they can make updates to our laptops and devices remotely, things like that from there. So you might have a pop-up that says RunNet needs to, you need to restart your computer to provide an update. It will eventually force you to do that. You can postpone it for a little while, but it'll eventually force you. That's what we need to get to make sure that our updates are happening when necessary, not, by having someone come in and manually do all that. They can do that remotely. So they do offer a really robust service. And more importantly today is our biggest exposure is all of us and all of our staff. If we're not trained well to prevent cyber security, we're the big weak link, truly. So I think the training that they will all get is crucial. And the training that they have, I know many of us around the table have been put through similar training, and most of us with that same company, so we know what to expect, and it's robust. So we're the first line of defense, and if we're well trained, really the risk of people getting in is very low, and there'll be courses everybody will be mandated to take, including all of us, because we have devices that are owned by the town. So, I feel we're moving in a really good direction that's overdue. Yeah, I know it's been on our list, Jeff, you and I, for a while. So, yeah. Okay, anybody else have any other questions on this one? We do have a motion.
The other thing I was gonna say about Brenda is I think that, based on my day job, you can get an incident report, monthly or quarterly, and it's earth shattering when you realize how many times you attempted to be hacked
Yeah.
and it's been stopped. It's scary. Yeah, but it's good to have, that protection in there, so I'm glad that we're going with the company.
Okay. Could I get a motion to engage services with BrunNet as our managed IT provider for a term of 3 years? Would you like to move this one? Moved by Councillor Bradbury, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. And I would like to thank the CAO for all the work on this one. We have looked at so many documents back and forth where he's analyzed it, cut it down, reanalyzed it, send it back out. he's carted them all around to all the sites, and we have many sites to make sure that they're extraordinarily well versed in what we're asking of them. So I appreciate all the efforts on this one. It's I know it took a lot of time. Item number 10.2, well number 3.
Well, number 3 update. Okay, as previously briefed, Boswell and McGraw, working with Gemtech, have submitted a proposal for the location, drilling, and development of a 3rd well at the River Well site. This will involve the ground preparation, drilling, and construction of an observation well, and the drilling and construction of a production well, assuming both wells will be about 160 feet deep. Boswell and McGraw will manage the overall project and portion involving tying the well into our existing infrastructure. So as I stated before, this project will proceed as quickly as possible, but in a step fashion, ensuring each test is satisfactory before proceeding to the next stage. Estimated project duration is 20 weeks from award. And note that during the actual well drilling, it will be necessary to pause production from our existing well for up to several hours, but this part of the process will be managed to minimize the risk of disruption. So Gemtech, based on our approval from April 30th, has gone to tender for the well drilling portion of the project, resulting in a decrease of approximately $23,000 to a revised total of $639,000, including a 10% contingency, but excluding HST. That will bring the water to the surface. Boswell and McGraw provided what they refer to as a Class D estimate to tie the infrastructure into our water treatment and distribution systems at $245,000, excluding HST, but including a contingency. So that's taking the water from the top of the well into our system. The actual total may vary depending on the final location, output, diameter of the well. The treasurer confirms that we currently hold $976,397 in our utility capital reserve account, which, based on the above estimates, plus our portion of the HST applicable, would cover the project if no other funding was available. We will be seeking other funding, and we're meeting on some of those funding options Friday. I'm hereby requesting permission to proceed with formulating the project contract and proceeding to legal review, as well as to initiate funding sourcing based on the above total estimated cost of $885,000, excluding HST. The finalized contract will be brought back to council for approval prior to signature.
So knowing the goal is that we get funding, right? But we have had to proceed because we have said this is an emergency, so we can't wait. We chose to not wait on funding. So at this point in time, we are hopeful that there'll still be funding available. We don't know to what amount, but at least we know that we do have the capital amount available. Knowing that we also have a lot of other work to do, right? So it's not ideal to deplete that, but this is the most important piece. If we don't have water to start, it doesn't matter what else is going on in our system. So we know that this is the most demanding piece. And again, we're trying to move with efficiency and quickness. So as we know, we have a meeting scheduled, a regular meeting for June 11th. Then we have a fairly big gap. So we may have a special meeting or two towards the end of June and or into July. Everything that comes in will need to get approved ASAP, because again, we know the timeline is approximately 20 weeks as these items are moving forward. So just noting that when items come back, we'll probably have to call some special meetings to get those pushed through. And then we will hopefully maybe by June 11th have our meeting have a better update on funding. So we'll see how that conversation goes. Those are my comments for that. Does anybody have any questions on this? We've been talking about this one a bit. Sorry, did you put your hand down?
I don't just like to ask the question, but water samples, like work, when will they be done? Like, will they be done? Is there a schedule for them at all? Or?
For the water sampling from the drilled well,
Yeah.
Yes.
we have to drill the well first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, and then they'll be done before we do the next step. Right?
So that's in the next phase then?
Yeah.
Correct.
Just putting
You have to put
the well down.
But
So
understand
let's-
that we are tapping into, we believe we're tapping into the same water source. So
Right.
it should be the same water, same quality, so the blending shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
Because of physical proximity, we do believe we'll be in the same water source.
Yeah, because that is very important, because we're very close to our budget there.
Yes,
I don't want to go down that road again.
understood.
You think?
One step at a time.
So I think, where do we want to highlight the wording? That's super, super critical. But in step fashion, right? So each test is a satisfactory before proceeding to the next stage. Right? We're not going to just hope something changes throughout.
No,
We are stop, if we go and drill and the water quality for whatever reason is vastly different, which means the system today that we have in place cannot really filter it to the same degree, because we really don't have the option right now to blend. We need the quality to be consistent with the current quality that's entering the infrastructure. So yes,
Gem Tech ought to take care of that, is that my understanding?
Yeah.
it's
Gemtech
going to
will
be
do-
tendered, yeah.
Gemtech will do the project management of the drilling.
Okay.
They'll manage the well driller and do all of that. Wasno is overseeing all of that
Okay,
project.
sorry, yeah.
Because Wasno are civil engineers, not hydrologists, but Gemtech are qualified to do the drilling and all of that. So they will subcontract through there. And then Wasno will do the civil engineering of actually connecting the water into, running the pipes into our water treatment system and doing all of that.
But we have to verify that we're getting the right volume, the right quality. So right now, all in, it looks like there should be no reason why we don't. But everything's going to be tested before we agree to proceed.
And I did challenge Gemtech on the contingency fee that they had in there, and Wasno comment was their bid was quite robust to cover for all of that. They seem to have covered every step.
Yes.
There didn't seem to be a lot of surprises coming. And, if there's something that has to change, they need to do a change order and justify it, because the bid was actually very detailed.
Yeah. So if there is a change, it's coming. If there's more money that needs spent, it's coming back here.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
we need to always remain in the loop on this. It is a significantly large project, and it's going to move quite fast. And in comparison to a 2-year well drilling full setup, this is where it's connecting to existing infrastructure. It's a much shorter, thankfully, process, but it means it will move fairly quickly. So, but I do want to make sure everybody's aware, all tests need to be satisfactory before we move to any next step.
And for clarity, the actual well we're drilling is outside of the well hose, but near. And then it will tie into the existing electrical and filtration, chlorination, all of that treatment stuff, so we don't have to replicate any of that infrastructure.
Hence keeping it to under $1 million.
I know.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Yes.
One quick question on timing, is that kind of 20 weeks, is that worst case scenario that they're saying? If all the infrastructure there, it seems like that's a long time to build well.
Well, some of it is lead time for the screens that have to go into the well. So we do have the breakdown of the lead times. But yes, you have to drill it, you have to get the screens in place, and then
Test.
once that's up, you've done your testing, you get your approvals from the NB government, who have been actually very, very responsive and very, very quick and understand our situation and working with us, but you've got to sort of stop, wait, do this, next step. So we may beat the 20 weeks, but that's what they're giving us.
And let's go back to, for clarity, that there will be a period of time. So when we say, note that during the actual well drilling, it will be necessary to pause production. So we're going to have to really think long and hard. What day is this?
Yeah.
What hours? Because when we say offline, remembering we're on one well, one pump, no one will have water.
Well, we
Period.
will fill our reservoirs.
Yes.
And we will fill our towers, we will have our reservoir, we'll have the residual pressure from that. So the plan is to not be out of water, not have to go into a boil order. And they're working on techniques that will allow less turbidity and less potential interference with existing wells. But that will be the most critically managed piece.
So knowing that's a very lovely thought, but we know that when we tell everybody you need to conserve, 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 this is going to land in a time where probably likely during peak period of influx of tourism or whatever we've got going on. So we'll have to really pick a time that if we don't have water, it's going to have the least impact, and everyone will need to be well informed and be prepared, because that's everyone, right? Anyone that's accessing municipal, so all businesses, all schools, all residents would be out of water for the period of time. And then we hope that it goes smoothly and it's a few hours and that's all there is. But just so that everybody's aware when that occurs, or if and when, as we've noted before, multiple times, if there is an issue that requires it to be offline, it really is a big impact right now, hence the emergency.
That's great.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Concerns? Okay, so we do have a motion. The motion would be to allow staff to proceed with formulating the project contract and proceeding to legal review, as well as to initiate funding sourcing based on the above total estimated cost of $885,000 excluding HST. The finalized contract will be brought back to council for approval prior to signature. Do we have a mover? Moved by Councillor Williams, seconded by Councillor Bradbury. Any other questions? Last chance. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, so we have a third item. Clerk, are we good?
We do.
Yes,
we're good to
right.
go.
Okay, so, and we apologize squeaking this one in last minute, but it is liquor licenses require a certain lead time, and we're tight for one of the dates in this. So we have two requests from Old Home Week, and are you comfortable giving the quick summary of the dates?
Sure. So the application submitted from Old Home Week for the Woodstock tractor pull to be held July 12th and the 13th, and for the demolition derby on August the 3rd. Both events to be held, of course, at Connell Park Grandstand Racetrack.
So is that our, do you want to read the motion?
Sure. So the motion rather to approve the liquor license applications for the Old Home Week events.
Do we have a mover? Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Leach. Anyone have any questions on those? I mean, they're pretty normal standard ones. Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, so the date of our next meeting, as we've mentioned, is Tuesday, June 11th, and that will be a CIC regular council combo. And then I would state that we will be moving into committee of the whole. We have two items, which for the benefit of the press, we don't anticipate having any motions coming from that tonight. Having to come back into regular council for motions. So if I could get a motion to move into committee of the whole, please. Moved by Councillor McCartney, seconded by Councillor Bradbury. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, yeah.